So again, this is Project 5 in typography for spring 2016, and we are doing a grids and layout project. So I have InDesign open. I'm going to hit Command-N to create a new document. Now, projects 1 through 4, we turn facing pages off because they were single-page items. This is a 2-page spread, so do you think we'll leave facing pages off or on? On. They face each other like when you close the book. So leave facing pages on. And what size is this supposed to be? 8 inches by 8 inches. Now you notice how I type in the IN after the 8. I don't know if you can see that or not, but that's what I'm doing. If I don't type the IN, it'll assume that I'm in picas. So 8 IN by 8 IN, and 8 inches in picas is 48 picas. So it should say 48 picas by 48 picas. Okay, now I am not going to play with columns here just yet. We're going to actually create multiple pages in here, multiple spreads, and each spread is going to be a different column count because I want you guys to know how to deal with columns and those kinds of things. So by default, 1 column is okay. We're going to change that elsewhere. If we are going to bleed any graphics off the edge, this we have not talked about yet, not much. You want to click on the arrow just to the left of bleed and slug. And does anybody know the United States standard for the size for the bleed off of the document? Does anybody know that? You're awful close. It's a little less than 1/4, 1/8 of an inch. Okay, so if you type in for the bleed 0.125 IN, okay, 0.125 is 1/8 of an inch. It's equal to 9 points. It will convert this to 0 pica 9 points. Okay, so now we know that 9 points in the pica measuring system, picas and points, 9 points is equivalent to 1/8 of an inch. It's less than a pica.
You said 1.25?
0.125 IN. Yeah, 0.125. Now, don't hit OK yet. Some of you guys are hopefully not in too much of a hurry. If you hit OK, we can always go back and go get to this somewhere else. Let's talk about margins. Right now, your margin is set at 3 pica. 3 pica is equivalent to how much of an inch? 3 pica in inches. How many picas are in an inch? 6 picas in an inch. Therefore, 3 picas is 1/2 an inch. Good job. So this has a 1/2 an inch margin all the way around. Now, I will let you know that this probably should change. Your inside margin of your book, we would assume this was in a book or a magazine. Let me find a good page here. Oftentimes, the inside margin, which is where the spine is, we set that to a little bit less than what the outside margins are, especially in a small publication. You know, this is only a couple pages. So we might go ahead and make that a 2 pica instead of a 3 pica. Now, I would not, you know, some people might say, oh, well, let's cut it in half. Sometimes you do cut it in half. I think that's a little extreme. Most folks will just take it down just a little bit. So we're going to do an inside margin of 2 pica. Now, I just put 2 pica and I hit the tab key and everything changed to 2 pica. That's very frustrating. I want them all to be different. I wanted everything else to be 3 picas. Well, how do we solve that problem? Well, there is a link right here. It looks like a chain, and if you click on the chain, it will break the chain. And now we can type in 3 picas for the top margin, 3p. For the bottom margin, I'm actually going to go 4p. Usually bottom margins are a little bit bigger to accommodate the page number. The inside margin is going to be 2 pica. And the outside margin and the top margin usually are about the same. Now, this is not a hard and fast rule. If we were to study Baskerville's stuff and Bodoni's stuff, they studied what was called the golden ratio or the golden mean, and they had quite a bit more space on the bottom, and their top was the smallest, and the outside one was bigger than the top but smaller than the bottom. So right now, this is not based off of the golden ratio or the golden mean. This is just based off of my experience doing magazines and books. We got 3, 4, 2, and 3. The top is 3 picas, the bottom is 4 picas, the inside is 2 pica, and the outside is 3 pica. You're welcome. Now, I could tell this to start on an even page number right up here, but I'm going to forget about that because I want to make a mistake. Because I oftentimes make this mistake, and if I oftentimes make this mistake, then maybe you would too. We could tell it to start this on an even page number, but for now we need some practice, so I'm not going to do that. I could put page 2 or 24 or 126 or whatever page, but I'm going to hold off on doing that because I want to show you how to fix that, assuming you forget to put that in there. So I'm going to hit OK, and this is what I get. Let me minimize my colors and make this a little bit bigger. I'm going to bring up my Pages panel. And here we can see, right here, page 1. And just to the left of page 1, I wish this would stay, is that little line. Now, that little line should have never occurred on our other projects, assuming you had facing pages turned off. What does that line to the left of this page represent? Does anybody know? What's that? Where it bleeds? Yeah, right here, the spine actually. The middle of the book. That's what that line represents. So just so you know, this tells me that this page is a right or left-hand page. Which one is it? Right, you're right. You're right. It's right. Okay, so if it's to the left of the line, it would be an even page. If it's the right of the line, it's going to be an odd page. Now, let's assume that we want to start this page on an even page. I want to share with you how to do that when you're in the Pages panel. So we can right-click on page 1 using your right-click mouse. Right-click on page 1. And we are going to go halfway down that window to a thing that says Numbering and Section Options. So we want our page number to be later on in the publication, which would be maybe a separate section in the publication. That's what that means. So when I click on that, a new window comes up. And here I can tell it to start page numbering at page 2 or 4 or 6. Maybe you want to go crazy. You want it to be 1016. I don't really care as long as it's an even number. So for me, it's 1016. That's a big book on Gutenberg. Maybe let's be more realistic. I'll do page 116. If you want to do page 16, that's fine. I don't care. As long as it's an even number, you could do page 2. It really doesn't matter just as long as it's an even number. So this is start page numbering at, and then put an even number in there. Now here's a kind of a cool thing. You guys have probably read books before, and you've probably seen a preface in a book where the pages are numbered with Roman numerals. Well, guess what? Right now the style is 1, 2, 3, 4, but that's where we would go to get Roman numerals and things. Now we don't need to change it for this book. Please don't. Well, I don't know. If you want to do Roman numerals, that's awfully exciting. Now this is an old school sort of layout, but I tend to want to keep with 1, 2, 3 because it's what I understand. You can also have zeros before your 1s and 2s and so on. And ABC too. Isn't that cool? It's all automatic. You just got to know where to get it. For now, I'm going to do 1, 2, 3 just to keep things from being confusing. We're not going to change anything else in here, but you can see that if we had chapters and chapter headers, we could tell it what we wanted our chapter numbering to look like and so on. So this has additional options in here we're not going to use on this project, but they're in there. Now I'm going to hit OK, and what's going to happen is, before I hit OK, this page number, it has a 1 underneath it. It'll become 116 underneath it. And it will move from the right side of this middle line here, to the spine line, to the left side. So when I hit OK, we'll see that change. There it is, page 116, and it's to the right, I'm sorry, to the left. I'm right-left challenge. To the left of that line, the spine line. Left pages are always even. Now, we can start adding pages. Here is what not to do, okay? Some people are click and draggers, and that's fine. But this page, it says up here in the above the page number, I'm going to stretch this out a little bit. Here's our actual page of the document. We have a none and an A master. Do not use the none page unless you want a unless you want a page with no page number or anything. I don't typically use none. I will drag from the master page and bring it down to the right-hand side of that spine, and it will add that page in there. That's one way of adding a page, but I use that master. Now, what is a master good for?
Setting the layout for the rest of the document.
Yep. The master is great for things like page numbers. Anything that's a repeat element on every page. You don't want to have to typeset numbers 100,000 different times. You'll do on the master page. So let's go ahead and play with this page number thing, because you guys have to have them on yours. So double click on the master. It says A master, and it'll highlight the pages kind of in a bluish gray. So just double click. It looks identical to pages, the first page and second page of your publication.
Yours, it highlights both of them. I didn't only notice it.
Okay, double click on the actual name A master, and it'll grab both of them. Yeah, that's a good point. If you just double click on one of these, it will grab one page as opposed to both of them. If you want both of them selected, double click on the words A master, and it will select both of them. Now I'm zooming out by hitting Command minus a little bit so I can see both of these pages a little bit better. Now what we're going to do is we're going to figure out where you want your page numbers. Now you can put your page numbers anywhere you want as long as it makes sense. What doesn't make sense is to put page numbers near the center of the spine. That is a big no-no. You can't, because when you hold a book, you're usually holding it with one hand and you're holding the spine and it's kind of pinched in. And if you're trying to just flip through a book for reference, if you're pinching on that spine and you're flipping through a book, you can't see page numbers if they're in the spine because you have that spine held pretty firmly with your hand. So do not put page numbers in near the spine. It's very bad practice. Where could we put the page numbers? Well, we could put them in the upper right hand, upper middle. That's pretty non-conventional. We could put them over in the middle of the thumb space out to the outside of the page. We could put them down in the lower left area of the page or lower middle. Those are pretty typical. Now, I like to do things differently. So you can do it however you want, and you can change them up too. I'm going to put mine, see I'm zooming into this center left area. I just zoomed into the left-hand page, roughly the center. Oops, I just zoomed out. And how I zoom is I use the zoom tool and I just drag and draw a box and it zooms into exactly that location. Many of us, I'm going to hit Command 0, many of us tend to do this. Click, 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 click. And it takes us forever to get there. So hit Command 0, not O, that's open. Command 0, the number, to zoom out. And then you can zoom in just to that area that you know you want to work with by clicking and dragging with the zoom tool. Now, I'm going to get the type tool. Now I could hit T to get the type tool. I'm going to, for video purposes, I'm going to click on the type tool to get the type tool. So let's say I want a page number out here. I'm going to click, and you want it in the margin area. You don't want it inside the pink line. So I drew a text box. And now I need to put something in that text box. Now I'm not going to type in page 116 or anything like that. I'm going to let the computer do that for me. So when you have a text box drawn and you have your cursor blinking, here's how you get the page number to come up. You go to Type, Insert Special Character, which is 5 items up from the bottom. So it's Type, Insert Special Character. And under Markers, which is the second item down in the flyout menu, you would choose Current Page Number. Oh my gosh, it has a keyboard shortcut for that, but my gosh, that looks like hieroglyphics. Shift Command Option N for number. Oh Lord. You guys, I've been doing this for years and I still don't have that memorized. Shift Command Option N for number. I always do it this way. That's too many things for me to figure out. Now what's going to happen is automatically, assuming my box is large enough to carry this text, they'll put an A in there. Well, this is a page number. Why is it an A? It's an A because this is the A master. Okay, if I look at my pages panel, it says A master. We can make a B master and a C master and so on. We can have multiple master pages for a document. If this were C master, it would say C in here.
I have a problem. Sorry.
Okay, that's okay. We have a problem. Oops. What's your problem?
I don't know why mine is not. But I must.
Oh, put 14? Okay, you were actually, I think, on this. So double click on the A master. There you go. You're on the master now. So go back here and hit Command Z. Second, I had a problem where it automatically put in a number. If it automatically put in a number, that means that you're actually on the regular page in the Pages panel, which is down here, right here. This is a regular page, not a master page. So I just suggested that she had told it to undo it and double click on the master. And if you single click on the master, sometimes you think you're there and you're not. So make sure you double click. Sometimes I'll double click a few times just to make sure I'm there. Okay, so if it showed up as a page number instead of an A, that means you're not on the master page. I'm glad that happened actually, Sepida, because that's going to be a problem for a lot of people if they didn't double click. Just to ensure they were on that master page. So let's review that again. Okay, I'm gonna review. I'm gonna delete what I've done. First, I'm double clicking on my master page, the A master. Maybe double click a couple of times to make sure I'm on there. I'm zooming in using the zoom tool into the area that I want the page number to be placed. I grab the type tool, which I hit T on the keyboard for that, and it turns into type tool. And I click and drag a text box. You can barely see the dotted line around that text box I have, and you can see the cursor blinking. And I went to, whoops, excuse me, I'm having problems with my mouse scrolling today. Oh my, I'm really out of whack here. There we go. I'm going to go to Type, Insert Special Character, choose Markers, and Current Page Number, and we'll put an A in there, in theory. Let's try that one more time. Maybe I misclicked. There we go. Now, at this point, I will usually tell this to be centered. What's the keyboard shortcut for centering your type? We have a C in there, don't we? What is it?
Shift Command C.
Shift Command C. Shift Command C centers that within that text box I drew. Okay, if I go to my paragraph control panel, I will also see that it's been centered. If you can't remember that, and I'm up here in the backwards P area, it's usually on the A, which is the character formatting. I clicked on backwards P, and you can see that it's centered, but I don't have to go there and click on that if I know my keyboard shortcuts. Now I also might want to go ahead and center that within the margin visually. So that was moved a little to the left or right of center, and I want to make sure that looks centered visually. You can also change the font. Right now the font is probably the default font, and guys, you should not use default fonts. If I see everything is set in Minion Pro, you actually get graded down. So please, no Minion Pro on your projects. That means you are just being a little font lazy. So I'm going to choose a different typeface, and I may load some typefaces too, but right now I'm just going to choose something that's preloaded just for the fun of it. And I chose Impact. Now that's awfully bold for a page number. So I also might want to change the color of that page number, because that's very, very bold for a page number. And to change the color of the type, does anybody remember how to change the color of type? I want to make that a gray, let's say. Anybody remember how to change color?
And the
Swatches, good. Swatches, I'm going to rip them off so I can see them a little bit better. Swatches. I want it to be gray. So if I just go to black and then go, oh, let me make it gray. Oh, what's happening here? It's horrible. This is not what I wanted at all. That's not what I wanted at all. Darn it. Let me hit Command Z a couple times. Oh, Lord, a lot of times. Oh, it's not even taking it. There we go. Maybe if I get off of there, it'll take it. Command Z, Z. Okay, there we go. Somebody said, hey, that's the stroke, lady. Well, how do I know? How do I know I'm even on the stroke? I don't even know what I'm doing. Where do I go to get off the stroke?
To the left or up there?
I could either, yeah, up here we can see it on the actual toolbar. Dom said, hey, go over to the left. You can see it a lot better over here. You got the same kind of tool here as you do in the swatches panel here. Typically, I'll stay here. So if I'm talking about type, what should I be clicking on before I start changing the color? The T, right there, that little T. Formatting affects text, so if you float your cursor over. Now, it is currently black, but let's say I want to make it 50% black. I can type in 50%. Oops, I typed in 650. That's not going to work. 50%. I hit the tab key to get it to stick. And oh, there we go. It's 50% gray. Now, I do not expect you all to have a page number in the center, in the thumb space of your book, and set an impact at 50% gray. Okay, this is just for practice. I expect you to think of your own way to deal with a page number. Now, I'm going to hit Command and the 0 number, and I've zoomed out. I'm going to move the swatches panel back where he belongs. Oh, heavens, Murgatroyd, come on. There we go. I'm going to get that out of my way. I'm also going to zoom out just a little bit because I want to see both of the pages. Now, I only have an automatic page number on the left-hand side. Do you think InDesign knows that I want one on the right too? It would make sense, but it doesn't. I wish that it would automatically put one over on the right, but it doesn't. So guess what I have to do? I have to do the same thing over on this side. Now, I'm going to zoom back into this page number just for a minute because I don't want to have any problems on positioning. I'm getting the black arrow tool known as the selection tool, and I'm clicking on that text box. I'm not clicking on it with the type tool. This is the black arrow tool, the selection tool. If you want to make sure that this letter is perfectly centered within this margin space, you might want to just pull the little anchor points to the edge of the page and the edge of that margin. We know that that's perfectly centered within that space. I don't have to guess.
What if you can't get the color to change?
Are you selecting it with the black arrow tool, or what tool are you on?
Well, I guess I don't know what you mean.
I may have to come back and check if you're not sure. Let me get my thing back to where it was here. Oops, I'm going crazy. Oof. There we go. Yeah, I'm having a real good time here myself. There we go. Trying to get my windows so I can see them a little bit better.
See, it takes that away. But
Oh, you might not be on a master. Let's see where we're at here. Yeah, I think you may have clicked off the master for a minute. You may have been on. Oh, no. Okay, see that little guy right there? Yeah. That guy is giving you problems. Click to disable primary text flow.
I'm not sure because I haven't used that before. So you might have gotten a little click happy on something, not knowing you were. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Because this is not a big major graphic, we're going to go ahead and draw a text box again. Go to type, search special character, page number, center that type. See if now we can change it. See, we don't have that similarity now. See if now we can change it to 50%. Or 80%, yeah. Yeah, I have to investigate to see what you might have accidentally clicked on to get that icon right there. So we just need to click on that and delete that. I wish I knew, because you're probably not the only one that's had that happen. Yeah. W key. Okay, hit the W key again. Okay. You have no margins.
I have them.
Well, you could save it and then shut InDesign down and then reopen it too to see if that's the problem. Because I do see you have margins. So maybe save it and reopen it. And if it doesn't work, then do start over again.
Okay, so any other problems? Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Should we do this from beginning in the other page, or we can copy and paste it?
You can copy and paste it. Yep. Boy, I got crazy there and got some extra boxes in there. The question was, hey, do I need to draw this again and specify that it's impact and make it gray 50% again? Heck no. Because I've already done this once, I can hold down the Alt or Option key. It's the same key. It says Alt and Option on it. If I hold down Alt, I can click and drag. That's copy and paste. If I hold down Shift after I start to drag it, Shift keeps it in line. Alt copies it. So I held down Alt, started to drag it, then held down the Shift key and brought it over here. Now, because Snap to is on, it's got some Snap to features, it should have snapped that right to that grid. It shouldn't be off. And it's right to that grid. Now I'm going to save this. File, Save As. And I'm going to call this Project 5, and we'll take a break. Make sure everybody's caught up. Okay, and I'm also going to stop the recording, so we'll have a multiple part recording on this. This will just be video 1.